The federal government has granted provisional licenses to 11 new private universities following their successful completion of the National Universities Commission NUC 13-step assessment. The Education Minister, Dr. Tunji Alausa, made that announcement after the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Bola Tinubu. The approved institutions include New City University, Ogun, University of Fortune, Ondo, Eranova University, Abuja, Minaret University, Oshun, Abubakar Toyin University, Kwara Southern Atlantic University, amongst others. Alausa stated that a moratorium has been placed on new private university approvals, except for those already in advanced stages of assessment. But we'll now take a deeper look at the latest government approval of 11 new private universities and the embargo on processing of additional private universities. How does the growing number of universities in the country impact learning environment and quality of education? Well, Horizons analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to unpack all this. Mr. Sobowale, many thanks for joining us here on Newsday.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you as usual.
Now, there's some that might be saying, or might wonder, should we be strengthening the universities that we already have on ground by equipping them better, or should we be building new ones?
Well, these are private universities, so they are from private funds. And I welcome the idea. And the NUC, I said, it has vetted the process of application, and it thinks they are worth the while. But it has put an embargo on fresh ones. Not that it won't bring in fresh ones, but that if the exigencies arose, it will bring in the fresh ones. I am all for it. Education is not necessarily the more the merrier. It is the quality that matters. And you see, in the absence of the misfortune plaguing the federal universities, where there is where industrial relations has crippled university education literally, these private universities are a succor for students seeking higher education. And I like it, as long as the fees are not too prohibitive. I don't want to mention anyone, but I understand that there are some universities charging around 12 million for tuition. Well, for those who can afford it, it's okay. But you see, if I have my way, like I've always said, education will be free at all levels. But as it is, it's an expansion of opportunity for our students, regardless of their background, to get accommodation for education. Not necessarily by going abroad, which is more exorbitant, given the state of our currency vis-a-vis the international powerful currencies. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you highlighted, some of the unique elements of private universities, one of them, of course, being pricing. But some might say that it's incredibly important to ensure that these private universities still align with national development goals. Where do you see room for the government to work together with private universities to ensure that the private and public universities are all still building in the same direction?
You are talking of societal values.
Yes.
For development. You asked this question. I did not go into this area. Do you get it? You see, we are in an era where civilization or social values are changing. Given our lot in life as a former colonial, we look up to the West for social values, societal values. Although somehow we still preserve our traditional values. But if you look at the last election in the US, you will see that the US is culturally divided. Get me? Between those who worship gender or sexual orientation and those who think we should return to the basics where the family holds sway. But luckily for us, we have been able to preserve our own values. Because, it may sound gleeful now, but I'm not gloating. We have a law in place or sexual orientation, that what they think is the ultimate human right, sexual orientation, we have a 14-year penalty for those indulging in it. So the universities invariably shape social and sociological values, decency. The pride of Europe before was that they are so satisfied all basic human needs that they can now enjoy themselves. That's why they took delight in a sexual orientation that it is that. But it's now, as things stand, it has backfired in the US. Because the first thing Trump did when he got there was to say that sex is between a man and a woman. And that was difficult to... No, it is one gender, male and female. If you classify it by the other side, your gender is what you feel, not necessarily your biological gender. And luckily, we have not got too mixed up with that, thank God. But some African countries have not been that lucky, because in giving them aid, they give them conditions. And that is why, you see, I'm not saying I'm happy because USAID has been disabled, but literally it has been disbanded, because the new government felt it was funding this sort of progressive values. So I'm happy we are here discussing values brought on by yourself, not me. Yeah, and I'm happy with it. But you see, universities should shape our society. They should shape our sense of discipline and accountability. You get me? So that we create a safe, secure, democratic society. And if democracy does not work, we look elsewhere. You get me? When we go back to our own traditional values and create peace and prosperity and inclusion for ourselves. You know, these last government, they had the policy of diversity, inclusion, and equity, which Trump he has thrown it overboard overnight, and he was almost thinking of cancelling the Ministry of Education. Can you believe that? Because you are using money for this sort of thing. That's right.
All right, Mr. Sobowale, well said. Going back to your point, how you mentioned that some of the, you don't want to mention names, but some of the tuition fees have been placed at 14 million. It's a reminder of the people who invest in these universities. So how do we ensure that these new private universities don't simply become profit-making ventures with little commitment to academic excellence, especially when we see that they are often founded by politicians and business people?
And bankers.
And bankers.
You see, we have in place here a free market economy. Yeah. You get me? If you can afford it, you go there. And you can bet, if you go to the universities with the best equipment, best laboratories, best hospitals, they are invariably the ones founded by bankers and these people who have high fees. They advertise, you can see them now. Get me? So you can afford it. Go there. I can assure you that the quality will be high. But you see, you don't run a totalitarian system. So you can't say we fix it. If it was this former Soviet Union, it's flat rate. You get me? Everybody enjoys the facilities, and no matter where you come from. But we have a mixed economy. Capitalism, socialism, and a hybrid of both. So socialism says to each according to his need, and from each according to his opportunity or whatever. But it is a mixed economy. I welcome them, and I'm sure the government must have vetted them very well. But we are in an era where we are talking of cost-reflective tariffs every year, so it should include the universities. And those who can afford it should go there, and let the others go elsewhere.
All right, well, that's also a call for the public universities to ensure that they up the ante on what they're delivering. Mr. Dayo Sobowale, always a pleasure to be in conversation with you. Thank you so much for your input.